everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It is the start of a new month. Actually, we're like a week into October, but I can still film this video because September ended fairly recently, so this video is still valid. I've seen quite a few other YouTubers making these kind of videos. I can link some of my favorites down below. This is not my video idea, but I thought that it would be a fun idea to try out, you know? I've been filming a lot of vlogs lately and I love to film the vlogs, but my life is not that interesting on a day-to-day basis, so I can't film them every single week. Otherwise, you guys would just be seeing the exact same thing because that is my life. We're switching it up today with a September reading recap. That is the name of this video. And I'm realizing that I'm talking a lot with my hands, which I think I only do when I film videos. That's just how it's gonna be today. So in September, I read 5 books. I don't really have a specific reading goal for each month. I have a yearly goal instead of monthly goals. So this year, my goal is 55 books. And currently I'm at 52, I think. So we're getting through it. You can follow my Goodreads, which will be linked down below, and you can see what books I'm reading and kind of keep up with that if you would like. And what you guys clicked on this video to watch is my recommendations from September. So let's jump right into those books. So we have 5 beautiful books. And I mean, these 2 are lovely, but can we just appreciate how cohesive all these books are? Although they're not all by the same author, just like, that's so pretty. I love it. So first on the stack is The Unhoneymooners by Kristen Lauren. And I'll give you a little close-up if you're not familiar with the cover because it is beautiful. I love it. And not only is the cover beautiful, the book was amazing. I think about this book pretty much on a daily basis, and I wish I could reread this book for the first time because it was just such a fun read. In this book, there are 2 sisters, they're twins, there's Amy and Olive. Olive is our main character. This book starts off prepping for Amy's wedding. So Amy is getting married. It's supposed to be like this super lovely, lush affair. And so at this wedding, not only is Olive there, but her arch nemesis is also there. His name is Ethan. So those are our 2 main characters, Olive and Ethan. Love them. So they hate each other. That's kind of like the main thing of like the first half of the book, is that they just hate each other. During the reception of the wedding, there's like a buffet, and for some reason, Ethan and Olive don't eat from the buffet, but everybody else does, and they get really sick, including the bride and groom. So the bride and groom can no longer go on their honeymoon. We're getting close to the title. So who goes on the honeymoon instead? The bride's sister, Olive, and Ethan, who happens to be, I think he's the best man. So they end up taking the honeymoon, but they hate each other. The Unhoneymooners love it. The majority of this book takes place on their vacation in Hawaii, and just like their daily interactions. Enemies to lovers is just one of my favorite book tropes, so if that is your vibe, if you love a good enemies to lovers, 10 out of 10 recommend this book. I'm pretty sure I gave this one 5 stars, so those are my thoughts on this book, and I very, very much recommend it. I love it so much. Next up, I was influenced by BookTok. And I'm not necessarily on TikTok, more like book reels, because I'm more of a reels gal instead of a TikTok gal, just being honest. And they convinced me to read Emily Henry, and I'm so glad that they did, because this was one of the most wonderful journeys I've been on, literary wise. First I read, why is this like funky? I think water spilled on this. I don't know how. I'm so sorry. So first I read Beach Read. Once again, look at that cover, look at that spine. The whole book is just beautiful. So this is another enemies to lovers book. If you like that, read this one. Our 2 characters are Augustus and January. Couldn't find her name on the back. They went to college together and they were very competitive against each other for like being the best writer in their class and all of that stuff. But after graduation, they kind of went their separate ways. They both became their own published authors. And now January is sent to go clean up her dad's house, who recently passed. And this house is by the lake. At the lake house, she is reunited with Augustus, who goes by, I believe he just goes by Gus in the book. And so you just kind of see how their story evolves. You know, it's a enemies to lovers book, so we all know how it's gonna end, but it is such a cute and sweet read. I loved it. It's just it's very chill. It doesn't require a lot of attention. It's not an intense read, but it's just a delightful read. 10 out of 10 recommend. I did give this one a 4 stars because in this book, the two main characters, since they're authors, they are writing their own books, and in Gus's books there's this like cult aspect to it, so I wasn't a big fan of the cultiness in this book that was mentioned just a little bit. So I mean, if you don't like that, you can skip over the chapters. I didn't find that section to be super important to the plot, so that's why I gave this one a 4 stars, just because it just wasn't necessary to me. I loved absolutely everything else about this book though. I need a sip of my LaCroix. Please comment down below if you like sparkling water, because it's like a thing among my friends. Some of us love it, like me, and some of them just absolutely hate it. I don't know why. I think it's amazing. Then, after beach read, I immediately ran to Target. Yes, I buy books at Target. I don't always buy books at the bookstore. I apologize. People we meet on vacation. I will say I did not like this one as much as I liked Beach Read. I feel like Beach Read was like top tier, and not that this one wasn't good. I also gave this one 4 stars. It just wasn't at the same level. I think the main thing for me is that this book switches times, so you go from you go from present day to like 10 years ago, then present day to 9 years ago, present day to, I don't know. It was just so much switching of time periods. And I was like, I just want to focus on one time period and like fully absorb what was happening then, rather than it switching every other chapter. That's just me. If you like switching time periods, then I would recommend this book. And this one is also, I wouldn't exactly say an enemies to lovers book, slightly. I don't know, they're not really enemies, but clearly I was really liking that trope this month. This book is about two best friends, Poppy and Alex. So Poppy, super exuberant, very full energy. She works for a travel magazine as a writer and photographer, I believe. And her best friend Alex, he's very studious, I guess you could say, a little bit nerdy, very opposites, but they are best friends, and every year they go on a vacation together, and that's why it switches between time periods. So we talk about their vacation presently and then the vacations that they've been on in the past, and you kind of learn how their friendship evolved, and they had a falling out, which is the main plot of the book. So for the main thing of the book is they're taking you along on this journey leading up to why they had their falling out. I want to read every single book that Emily Henry has written. That's the consensus here. Even though this one was not my favorite out of the month, I love this one still. Alright, this one is from a debut author, and I thought that was so exciting. I don't think I've ever read an author's first book like as soon as it came out. I actually saw this at Target and I took a picture of it because I'm like, okay, I don't have money for this right now, but I would like to get it eventually. And then my aunt texted me and asked me if I wanted anything for my birthday, which was September 14th. So I got this book for my birthday, and I am so excited that I did. This book is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. And this is the first book that she has ever written, and it is amazing. She has a second book coming out next year, and I cannot wait. I intend to read every single book that she writes. Can we just... Okay, this is the outside. It's a hardcover. I don't usually get hardcover books, but we got a hardcover this time. This is the outside of it. Look at that. It's beautiful. And you think this is beautiful? Hold on. Hold on. This is the prettiest book I own. I love it so much. Look at this. Okay. When I unwrapped this at my birthday, I was like, okay, I've been wanting to read this book. The cover is beautiful. Like, the dust cover is beautiful. The actual cover of the book is beautiful. I hope that this is a good book, because it would just be such a shame if it was so beautiful to look at but terrible to read. It did not disappoint. Oh, I'm holding it upside down. So this book takes place in a school setting. A little bit Harry Potter vibes. The school is only of witches, the teachers are all witches, and all of these witches, their powers are nature-based. So we have summer, spring, winter, and fall witches. But our main character, Clara, she is an Everwitch, which means her powers are in season all year round, while the other ones are only in season during their time. So like if there's a summer witch, her powers or his powers are only like fully activated in the summertime. But her powers work to their full capability at all times, which is super key for this witch community because of the environmental issues that are talked about in this book, which apply basically to our environmental issues currently. This book was published in 2021, which I think is really cool because it does talk about a lot of current environmental issues like the fires that we had in 2020. Throughout this book, we learn a little bit about Clara's history, about how her parents died and some of her friends died. And unfortunately, it was her fault because she didn't know how to control her powers. And that's kind of discussed in like the first chapter, I guess, though I'm not really giving anything away. So that's her biggest struggle, is being able to control her powers around the people that she loves especially. And since she's the only Everwitch of her time, she doesn't know how to train herself, and her teachers at the school really don't know how to train her either. So that's like the main plot, is figuring out ways to train, to use her powers to benefit the entire community, because that's what she wants to do. She doesn't want to be like the evil character. In a way, the character of Clara is both the villain and the hero in the book, which is super interesting. And there's also a little sprinkle of romance in this book. It was so sweet. I loved it. And I loved the nature aspect of it. They're in like gardens and the mountains and the forests and all kinds of stuff like that for training, and the witches are training how to control the weather, whether to make it whether to make it snow or heat, and ways to combat from the environmental issues. So if you like fantasy, if you like environmentalism, if you like a little bit of romance, and if you just like a beautiful book, pick this one up. And I cannot wait for Rachel Griffin's next book because I will be reading it as soon as it's on the shelf. I've been talking for almost 20 minutes straight. My mouth is feeling very dry. But we are on the last book. This one was the biggest literary adventure I have ever been on. So this is the second book in the series. I think the series is called Crave. I have the other ones right here. The first book is Crave, the third book is Covet, the second book is Crush, and there's two more that are coming out in like the next year. I think the fourth one comes out, and I want to say in either May or March, and I am so excited. So the first book, I won't give a full review, but the first book really just like introduces you into the characters and like the setting, I guess. It takes place in Alaska in a school full of monsters. So they're like dragons and vampires, werewolves, witches. Those are like the main four monsters that are in the story. Once again, little Harry Potter vibes. I love Harry Potter so much. I'm just gonna compare things to that. Also, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Monster High. When I was little, I loved it so much. This is basically more of like an young adult version of Monster High, I would say, which is partially why I love it so much. So in the first book, you just kind of get familiar with the characters and the school, and then the second book happens. And this was like, it has everything. There's like, it's adventure, there's mystery, there's the most intense love triangle and enemies to lovers like situation that I have ever read. I was genuinely shocked and like gripped the entire time, and this book it's not a thin book, but it had me the entire time. This book's about 700 pages for reference. I absolutely love the dialogue that that Tracy Wolff writes. It is just so funny. All the characters have super diverse relationships, and I don't want to say too much because this is the second book, so I don't want to spoil the first book. Main character is Grace. She is a human from California, and after her parents die, she's sent to live with her uncle, who is the principal of the school Katmere Academy. We have the logo of Katmere Academy on the front of the book, which we love. The school that she's sent to is a school for monsters in Alaska in the middle of nowhere, but she's not told that it's a school for monsters, so she's just kind of left on her own accord. And on her first day, she meets this vampire, although she doesn't know he's a vampire at the time, and his name is Jackson. So he's like our main dude. Shortly after they meet, they get together. We all saw that coming. That happens in the first book. Not a spoiler. 100%, like once you read like the first few pages, you know it's coming. And then we find out that Jackson has a brother whose name is Hudson. And this is where I can't say too much because I don't want to spoil the first book for you guys. In this book, we see the interaction between Hudson and Grace, and their relationship is just hilarious because they just hate each other, because Hudson is He's our villain in the story and Grace is our hero, kind of. I feel like the hero slash villain roles kind of switch between characters all throughout the book, which really just keeps it interesting and you really get to know these characters to a whole new level. I did make the mistake of slightly judging these books by the cover. I was expecting like something super cheesy and just be like, yeah. And I will say the first book was, I gave the first one 3 stars. This one, solid 5-star book. It gave me adventure, it gave me romance, it gave me enemies to lovers. There's a bit of mystery. It takes place in the school. There's dark academia vibes. It is just everything that I wanted in a book. As soon as I finished this one, I ran to the store to pick up the 3rd one because it was just, it's just so good. If you're looking for a new fantasy series, 10 out of 10 will recommend this series, and I did give this one a 5-star review on Goodreads. And once again, my Goodreads will be linked down below in the description, as well as my Instagram handle and any other social media that I have. It'll all be down there. Okay guys, I've been talking for about 30 minutes straight about these books. Hopefully everything is understandable, because when I start talking for a while, I start jumbling my words, so. My camera just shut off because it was on for too long because I was talking for that long. Okay, I don't exactly remember where I was, but all my social media will be linked down below. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Goodreads, all the fun things. That'll all be linked below. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!